In this video, we're going to be hooking up 2 subwoofers and 2 tops, 5 different ways. We're going to also be doing some sound tests on it because this is really exciting. These subs happen to be Mackie's brand new ThumpSub Sub Go system. So this happens to be their double 8-inch subwoofers that also have the options for batteries. Now we're going to save the battery option for another video, where that's where we're going to really talk about the speakers, the tops, and all that kind of stuff. But in this video, I really want to show you 5 great ways to hook this up as an actual full system. You're not going to believe the sound quality that comes out of this. Now, a lot of people are talking about, oh yes, there's good exception for this and that and the other thing. There's lots of people talking about it. But what I'm going to try and cover with you today is the how to get the most out of it and start thinking about who's going to want to use it. Because really, this is a whole new market for not just them, but for the industry at large when it comes to filling in the gaps. Because that's what we're up to. We're making small, better things that fill the gaps so this way more people can be happy with what they're buying. So we're not compromising with this speaker. I'm not buying this in place of an 18 or 15 or even 12. I'm buying this because I want to have incredibly low, tight performance out of my subs without having to turn the volume up in the room so dramatically loud. And what I mean is I can make the sub loud, but the idea is I want to run the sub at a comfortable level, 70, 80, 90 dBs. You're still going to get incredible bass response. It's going to allow people to talk and be able to enjoy the music the way it was meant to be enjoyed, as if it was really loud. We're going to make it so nice and so clear that everybody around us is going to enjoy it. Now, if you're looking at having a permanent setup for, let's say, a bar, restaurant, club, or a cafe for people to perform at on a regular basis, and the idea is that this could be used at lunchtime, could be used at supper time, could be used in the evenings. It's not meant to blow people away like a big giant setup where all people are doing are drinking and listening to music at 100 dBs. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about enjoying it. And this is where you're going to see this really find its home. It's also great if you're a mobile performer, if you're somebody who's going to play at these cafes and you're going to bring your equipment with you. This is a great setup to bring in and out. You can sound better than the last person who was there, not just artistically, but overall sound-wise, because you've just got a better system. Can you buy a line array? Yes, you can, but it won't sound the same as this. Even though a lot of people say, oh, my line array has got a bass or a subwoofer on it. That bass module, which is really, let's call it a bass module, is there to fill in the gaps between what the top can't do. Because the top can't do the mid bass, can't do the regular bass, and it certainly can't do any sub sounds. So that driver at the bottom has to take over the responsibility for all of that. So in this case, these speakers are specifically for that. We're going to use some 10-inch tops, and those 10-inch tops are going to fill in the actual sound that we need proper. So everything proper between 400 going up is going to come out of the tops, and it's going to sound and fill the space really well. Problem is that we'd have to alter it, modify it, adjust it, and some of them just can't perform low-end bass really, really well because they just lack the size to do it. So what we're going to do is add these subs to make all of that magic happen. Also, they're so nice when you actually set them up side by side individually, but I do prefer the stacked method. I think that overall is going to be a nicer setup for most people. So let's take a look at the back, and then we'll take a listen to the actual speakers, to the subwoofer, see how it sounds on its own. So here we are. This is our combination of equipment we have. We've got up here, we've got our ThumpSub Sub Go, which are the double 8s. And we're going to be using them strictly as a power system today, so we're not too worried. I could run them with or without the power cords, but that's why we've got them plugged in, so we can go through everything. Always make sure they're off when you're not using them, because we don't want to drain the batteries. Now over here, this is where we have the Harbinger, the V2410s. Excellent, because I do like the control panel and the amount of power we have on this system. We have one on the left, one on the right. These things are also ready to go. Now, for the actual mixer that we're going to be using today, let's take a pan down here, take a look, see what we got. This is the Harbinger, the LX12, one of my favorite mixers when it comes to getting things done, because it's a very good workhorse. It has everything we need in it. It's even got compressors, but in this case, I'm using USB because I'm taking it from my actual laptop there with the controller, and I'm using this as the audio interface for Serato. So the actual signal's coming out. Controller's just being used like a keyboard, just, you know, control Serato, but the audio is coming out here to this mixer right here. And then from this mixer is how we're going to make all the magic happen. So all we're going to be using is the XLR main output. So our first connection is going to be our standard multi-subwoofer with actual tops connection. This is very important. If we're just hooking up two tops, we would go straight out, XLR out, into the first speaker, XLR out of the mixer, into the second speaker. Nothing more complicated than that. But we have the subs to deal with, so we have to come up with combinations that are going to work well with the sub. Now the first one is pretty much the simplest one. It's the one that comes out of the manual. And they're looking at multiple subs. So the first connection is going to be based on the original factory settings. So what does Mackie say when you buy their subs? How do they want you to plug their subs in based on their instruction manual? Well, they're going with the traditional way. They're assuming you're going to put a pole on top of this sub and you're going to put a speaker on top of that. And the same thing's going to happen. You're going to take a pole on top of the second sub and you're going to put one of the tops on it. Then they're going to run it as a left-right system. So what are they going to do? They're going to tell you to run a set of XLR cables out to each of the subwoofers. And you're going to go in on the sub, in on the sub, and then they're going to go and tell you to take these guys and plug them from the mixer. So here we are. Now the sub's connected. Now we just need to connect the tops. So again, we're still working on option number one because we do have subs. So we're going to go output on one, and we're going to connect that to our first speaker. So again, when Mackie's talking to you about doing it this way, they're under the assumption that you've put the actual top speaker with the sub independently on the left and independently on the right. So again, you're going to go to the second one, come out, and you're going to go straight across to the second one. So again, they're thinking you've stacked the speakers. Now this is fine, but that's an awful lot of wiring going back and forth to get this done. Now there is cleaner, more efficient ways of doing this because I do really like the setup of having my subs together. Now they don't have to be. If you're going to just go out and you want to do a separated setup, by all means, go ahead and do that. Then take this as your lead. Now, why are they choosing this as their lead? Because this is their subwoofer. Their instruction manuals are going to guide you through their sub option. Now here there's a button, which is very important. This is the full range or high pass option, depending on how much energy. If I had the 8-inch here and I wanted to get the most out of them, I would definitely go with a high pass. So that's just going to bring the highs out of the actual system and then cut the actual bass that this is going to generate from the tops. But the 10s can handle it, so I'm happy to give full range and allow it to give a richer sound to the whole setup. Now we also have the option to run the rig as a stereo or a mono output, which is another cool option, so you've got choices there as well. So now let's look at it at the point of view of an actual speaker. So a speaker, a top speaker, depending on the brand you have, they're going to look at it and they're going to ask you to go there first and then drop down. Same scenario, they're expecting you to have a left and a right setup, so they're going to say, hey, let's go to the top here, let's go to the top here, and then let's hook up another XLR down, get into these guys, and we're going to be all done. We've just moved the cables around a bit. We're really not making any progress with cleaning up. We've just reversed what it is. And what did we do? We just read a different set of instructions. That's all we did. Nothing more complicated than that. We've gone from, like I said, that cable in there. We've gone now from reading the subwoofer instructions to reading the speaker instructions. So again, this isn't wrong. This is just a different way of getting all the sound across. Now this allows us to take options here where we can do a subwoofer cut. So if we want a sub cut, so any low frequencies isn't going to go to the tops, it's just going to come out and go to the subs because that's built into the system. So again, they're saying, hey, look at what we can do. We can help you make better sound. Just like Mackie over here with their options on the back of their sub said, hey, look at us. We can help you do better sound. Doesn't make one wrong and one right. It just makes them different. And of course, you want to try that out a bit and see which one you like the best. Now let's go full hog here. Option number 3 is going to be using the actual smart connection system right in the actual speakers. Now this is pretty impressive stuff. Now to take advantage of that, we're going to need some slightly different cables. We're going to need our XLRs for this end here, which is going to go in the mixer, right? Because the mixer only offers XLR as an output. But our inputs are going to go right here. We want to shoot in right here into channel number 3, which has a left and a right option. So we're going to go left and right off the back of the actual first speaker. Usually the closest speaker to the mixer. That's the concept here. That's what we're shooting for, right? Closest to there. Okay. Then again, we're going to take our left and right and plug that into the mixing board, just like that. So now they're plugged in as well. So again, we're always using the same setup. The mixing board is always main out, left and right. So now we're here. Now we've got to hook up two different systems. We've got to get ourselves across to this speaker all the way over here. This speaker needs an input. It needs to be set up so this way it's going to be a link-in option. We need that. So how do we do that on this particular speaker? Well, we're going to use an XLR cable to make that happen. So we're going to use this XLR cable in this case, and we're going to plug right into here. That's our link out option. We're going to come over here and we're going to go into our, in this case, first, this particular size speaker, their 8 and 10s do not have a link in. They just use the actual channel 1 link in option. So now for the subwoofer, if we look on the back of the speaker, we, besides having a link out, which is for hooking up the left and right speaker together, we also have a mixed out right beside it. And the mixed out is going to give me that full range subwoofer output capabilities that I need to run into a speaker. Now this is really nice when you're looking at hooking up a speaker in a stack like this. This is my preferred option. So I'm going to plug the first one in here, just like that. Then I'm going to take the output of the first one, and I'm going to bring that up to the top one here. Look at this. Now this is very impressive. Now, this is the best way to hook this up if you're stacking them up. If you're going to stack your subs in the middle, this way the speakers work as one big package. So this signal is going to be a mixed out of everything that's in the speaker coming into here. And it's going to give us a proper mix out signal. So this way this is working as one large subwoofer. It's taking all 4 8-inch drivers and syncing them all together. We're not going to have a stereo left and right moving in its own organic way. We're going to have this whole package moving together to generate the most amount of bass in the room, allowing it to fill the space up nicely. This is really good. This will generate more energy, more bass, two ways, because we've brought them together. We've coupled the system and we've allowed it to work as one large moving object versus two smaller objects off to the sides with them working against each other when the sound hits the middle. Kind of think of having your two hands in a bathtub or a swimming pool. As they move, they're going to create waves that are not happy and they're not going to meet up properly. If they're moving together, if you put your hands together and you push against the water, you're going to get a much better rhythm and much better waves out of the whole thing. Better to do this. Again, how did I do that? In this case, I used my left and right output, used the link option to hook up to the second speaker, then used the mix output to come across to the subwoofer. Very, very important. That's how you get the most out of the actual system. Now also remember, adjusting things is very important. The speaker's unity is at the top. It does have a max, which is all the way here, and it has a unity off, which is all the way at the bottom. Same thing happens here. I have a unity off and I have a max. Now normally I'm happy with the mixer and all that. I can run this guy at top and I can run this guy at the top as well. So let's say that's 50%, that's unity. Everything's balanced. Now if I want more bass, what I can do is I can decide to pull back a little bit on my top, just like that. Then over here, I can add a little bit. Now, why do I get to add a little bit? Why does that happen? Am I going 110% on the sub? Nope, not really, because this guy normally controls the sub. So as I turn up and down the volume here for this amp plate, it's going to control the gain outputs on the actual mixed out. So if I turn this down a bit, it's turning down the signal on the output. So this speaker's already losing some energy. It's losing some signal coming into it. Now I get to turn this guy up just a little bit to compensate for the fact that I've gone down. So I've reduced this by 10%. I've increased this by 10, 20%. That is going to allow us to now keep a proper amount of energy filling the room, but I've added more bass than highs because I want to drive more bass than highs. That was my choice. I did all that without touching the bass and treble options on the speaker. Bass and treble options on the speaker, strictly for adjusting the room acoustics. If you have a hardwood floor and not a lot of people in it, you're going to want to bring the bass up a little bit or trim the highs a little bit. If you have a room that has a lot of padded chairs in it, a lot of carpeting, a lot of drapery, you may have to bring the highs to compensate. Now also remember, if you're a guy and you're playing this for a crowd that's 50% women, 50% men, take note of the highs. Women are much more sensitive to highs compared to men. So if they find it irritating, try turning this down. If you've turned this up 3/4 just because it makes you happy and it sounds good to you, ask one of your female guests what they think, or ask, better yet, your wife, because she'll give you a true, honest experience of what that sounds like. So now that's number 3 for hookups. It's a lot of options here. Option number 4 is doing pretty much the same thing, but instead of coupling these speakers, if you weren't going to have them stacked, you would want to be able to run that second speaker, because you're going to have this speaker under here. So this XLR cable would go to the speaker that's located right underneath it, and then we come across to this speaker here, because we're not going to run a second cable across from one subwoofer to the other. That would be silly. So then we're going to come across to the second speaker on our left side. We're going to take the actual mix out there, and we're going to plug this into the subwoofer that's located just below it, just like that. So now our left side, top and bottom connected, right side, top and bottom connected. That keeps everything nice, simple, and clean. And it's also going to give you the most out of your whole package. It allows you for good adjustment, allows you for good sound balancing, brings everything you want in the play. So in the last way we're going to do this, we're going to take advantage of the monitor output. Now I know a lot of people sometimes have controversies. Some other YouTubers say, oh, don't do this, or this is why I don't do this anymore. I'm going to stick with the why I do this, okay? So yes, this is an open option. Now if you're not using your monitor for anything, there's lots of reasons why you'd use your monitor for something else, okay? So if I'm going to place a speaker near the head table because I just want it to sound better in the room, because I do not understand how DJs don't put a speaker next to the head table. That's a good reason to get a line array, because people are used to the direction people are talking to you at. So if there's a speaker next to the head table and they speak at the head table, they're more likely to get people's attention, because that's where they're talking to you from. It's like you as a DJ, if you're sticking by the main speakers and you're talking, people know where you're located. But if the head table is off to your left 40 feet away and they start talking and their voice comes out of the main speakers, now that's just weird. So again, that would be a good reason to use your monitor output to go to the head table and then have a speaker that you can run off of there, and it's much easier. So you basically use the head table monitor option. So if I've given the mic to the head table on channel 1, I would use that monitor option to control the volume going to the head table actual speaker. So they're not going to listen to music from there. None of that's going to happen there. It's just whenever the mic is being used, when they're talking, that's going to happen and come out of the speaker right next to them. Very smart idea. Very good way for people to hear what's going on. But if you're not going to do that, and you're looking for an opportunity to control your subwoofer from the actual mixing board, and you don't have extra channels to do that, this is how you find an extra channel. So in this case, the only time I'm going to be using the subwoofer is going to be on my USB input, which is coming from my mixing board, from the actual laptop, from the controller. That's going to come right into here. Now again, the controller is plugged in here through the laptop digitally. There's no actual connections being made physically. It's not an analog XLR connection or RCA connection. I just chose the sound card in here to handle all the work, all the heavy lifting, so I can run it off the XLRs and everything else. Now, the speaker can handle, it's a combo jack. So the speaker, the subwoofer can handle the XLR or the 1/4 inch. It's a combo jack. So if I wanted to and I had 1/4 inch cables, I'm not running out and buying new cables. Though it doesn't hurt to have a good variety of cables in your mix, because you never know when you need a cable for something else. So in this case, what am I going to do? I'm going to find the monitor output, which is right here. Plug into that. I'm going to leave all my other speakers hooked up the same way. So now, because we've chosen that XLR, we're going to be able to take that XLR, come out of here. We're going to go right into B. Then we're going to need to come out of here and plug into the second one, because we're linking those two together. Internally, this is hooked up in a balanced and unbalanced configuration through this jack. This is literally a cable to link the 3 pins that are on here with the 3 pins that are on here. There's no audio difference. Now, if this cable is going to be longer than 25 feet, then absolutely make sure that it's a balanced cable, which means it would have a second ring break in here. This is just called a tip and sleeve, not a tip, ring, and sleeve. The ring is the piece in the middle, so that would be that extra section, which would give the same wiring values as a standard XLR. I get to go just here where I'm going to have music. So that means there's going to be no bass on anybody talking on the microphones. There's going to be no subwoofers. So remember, you're doing this so you're not going to be fiddling with it all the time, but it allows you to adjust your bass at lower volumes and then at upper volumes. So if you're, before dinner, you're running everything, you can run before dinner with a lot less bass and bring up your music. And then your bass is only set to a certain degree and you're comfortable and it's nice and it's not punching the room so bad. And then as the evening goes on, you've decided now that you're going to run everything off your controller, volume controls. You're going to bring the music up. You might decide to run this guy at about 75% or 60% and bring your mains up to unity, and then you'll be all set for the night. That's pretty much what it's all about. It's just being able to drop the bass without dropping the volume, or vice versa. So this way you can balance out your entire system. That's why you're doing this. Also, so this way you can eliminate the subwoofer on any channels you don't want the subwoofer to be on. And that would be any channel with a microphone. If you don't want to sound like this, you want to have a good proper voice, you want to sound good, then, you know, that's one way to get rid of that sub off of your voice. Now, of course, you can adjust it in the EQing and all that, but again, this is just a nice straightforward way to do that. Do you have to do it? No. This is just another thing for you to have as an option. And in this case, option number 5. So now we're going to just play some music through the whole system, set it all up so this way you're happy listening to it, hear it a couple of different ways. I'm a big super fan of these speakers. You're going to see them over and over and over again because there's so many great ways to talk about them. If you're looking for a new mix of subwoofers, by all means, this is something you definitely probably want to add to your repertoire if it fits the size gigs you're doing. That's really what it comes down to. All right. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped you out a bit in some educational way form. Also, remember, we're putting together courses to help you out. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.